Rachel.
Hey, Kyle.
What are you doing?
I just got the nicest note from one of my former students talking about an activity that we did last year. It made me feel good.
I bet. I love hearing from former students. Speaking of student and teacher relationship, I know that a lot of emphasis is put on that at the beginning of the year. But as the year progresses, some of the noise of grading and pacing and lesson planning starts to interfere. But why is it important for teachers to still maintain those student relationships throughout the year?
So Kyle, if you used icebreakers at the beginning of the year and started building those relationships, you're probably already seeing the benefits of that. Your students are more engaged, they're less likely to act out because they want to be on your side. But a year is a really long time, and for your students, it's even longer because there's so much growth happening. They're changing, their families are probably changing, their interests are different. And so it's really important for teachers to keep up with their students and check in on them regularly to learn about these new things going on in their lives. Because the student you start with at the beginning of the year is going to be a totally different kid by the end of the year. If you work with your students and learn more about them throughout the year, you're showing you support them and you're showing that you value the students they're becoming over time, and that's so effective.
If a teacher has a go-to icebreaker or rapport builder that they like to use and the students enjoy, if they're doing the same one throughout the year, it could get overused and stale. So how does a teacher keep it fresh?
When I was a beginning teacher, I used this icebreaker over and over because I thought all my students liked it. And then I found out that some of my students weren't as comfortable with it because they wanted to do something quieter. And so I started using more icebreakers and different kinds, and that's what I do now. One thing that you could do is have your students pair up for some icebreakers, and then that way some of those quieter students feel more comfortable just talking to one student. You can do small groups for the same purpose, but then they have a slightly bigger audience. And then you can do your full class icebreakers so everybody gets to participate. But then that way you're showing that you know that students have different needs and different ways of interacting, and you're reaching out to all of them to build those relationships.
So a variety of icebreakers for a variety of students.
Yep.
Speaking of how students can be different, we know that we don't automatically click with every single student. I mean, it's the same in real life as it is in the classroom. But how can a teacher reach some of these students that they've had trouble building rapport with earlier in the year?
That's so important. And I think the first thing to acknowledge is that it's a really natural feeling. You're not going to get along with everybody from the beginning. And everybody has these different experiences that draw them to some people and make them shy away from others. But as the teacher, you're the adult in the classroom. And it's your obligation to get to know all of your students and to get past that. Students can tell, if you are uncomfortable with them, students are so intuitive. And imagine how they feel if they know their teacher isn't comfortable with them. So that's where maintaining student relationships is so important, because when you reach out every day and talk to a student, when you have individual meetings with them on a regular basis, you're communicating that you know they're growing and changing, and that eventually you're going to have something to talk about. And that's where your true learning relationship can start, so that you can move forward and build the relationship you wanted in the first place.
Yeah, so don't give up just because it didn't work the first time. Continue to reach out, and eventually you'll find something. So I've really been looking for some new icebreakers, and when you mentioned the ones you used earlier, do you have any that I could possibly, take and use in my own classroom?
I was just looking at some pictures from an icebreaker from last year. Let's see if this works for you. I think you'll like it.